Everybody, and welcome to the Rabbit Trail Podcast. This is episode number 194.
194.
That's right. And we are the podcast that chases the truth wherever it runs. The whole idea here is that we pick up the topic that we left from our sermon on the Sunday at Olive Branch Community Church, which is where I'm the pastor at. My name's Greg Harris, and we're glad that you're joining with us. And I didn't preach last week, but my co-host, one of my co-hosts did.
Yes. Yeah.
Brent.
I'm Brent Branchard, and I'm the Connections Pastor here at Olive Branch Church, and I did get the privilege of preaching, and I didn't sweat too hard, so that was good. But also, if you guys are listening to this or watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like. It just makes it more aware that we're out there, and don't forget to share it with your friends.
I'm Theressa Harris, and we love hearing from you guys, so please, if you have any questions or comments, email us at rabbittrail@obcc.church.
Right.
Yeah, so we've been off a couple of weeks. So
we have 2 weeks, huh? So what's been going on with you guys?
Man, we had our kids go off to Thailand, return to Thailand. We had our 23rd
You got a
anniversary.
sneak peek at what Empty Nesters looks like?
No, we had our older two with us the whole week.
Yeah.
So it was pretty like different because we've had our younger two with us, and this is like the first time in a long time we've just had our older two. So it's different experiences with different combinations of kids. It's pretty fun. But we did get to go down to La Jolla kind of as part of our anniversary and check out the shark infested waters, right?
La Jolla, and for you English speakers, that would be La Jolla.
La Jolla.
So,
But you were looking it up, right? There's all kinds of shark attacks.
Yeah, no.
Not attacks. Sorry.
There's not been any
No
shark
shark attacks, just sightings.
There's just been a lot of shark sightings. It's been a sharky summer.
wow.
And I
So-
like to scare myself, so I look him up. And
Like legitimately likes to scare herself. We went to Catalina for our anniversary many years ago. And so she's like, let's get a kayak and kayak around on the ocean. And I'm thinking, no, I don't want to do that. This is Catalina.
You did not tell me no.
No,
I didn't know that you were
jumped in.
scared until we
jumped
were
in, and I'm
on the ocean kayaking, and I'm like, you're going really fast. Like, what's going on? He's like, I'm a little freaked out right now.
Wow.
So we go in after it's all done, and we look it up, and sure enough, yeah, over the last 5 years, there'd been like 3 great white shark attacks. We're on kayaks.
Well, I wouldn't call them attacks, but like,
the lady literally like got bumped on. It's like on her. It's freaky.
it's in the path of, it's our fault for being in their path. That's
yeah,
where
they mate and they grow up
migrate.
and migrate through there.
I just want to say it's nice to know that you are confident in your and you got to take care of your little lady here of kayaking. So and that was the anniversary that we met you guys at Catalina for a day, right?
Yeah,
Good.
that was.
All right. I didn't know you were that scared.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's good. So, let me just ask you this question, okay? So she's looking up La Jolla. She's looking up that there's a bunch of shark sightings in La Jolla.
La Jolla?
La Jolla.
in Malibu and
so,
Newport. And
so it's like you guys
along
were
the
alone,
coast.
and she's like, was it her idea? Like, hey, let's go to La Jolla. Get in the water. Is she like maybe trying to off you? Is she like, did you check and make sure your insurance policy wasn't increased while you were on the
No,
break?
I didn't, but I'm starting to wonder.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of deadly things around here. Hey, honey, why don't you get in the water?
Let's go visit Australia. There's nothing deadly there.
Yeah. Let's get in a kayak and paddle around Catalina, and don't worry about the meat that's just dragging behind us. Well, good for you. Good for you. But you guys had a good time.
I set you up for a butchering class
You
and
did.
surfing all on the same day.
There you go.
What did you do, Brent?
What did I do? Let me see. What did I do? We had a brief empty house after we dropped the grandkids off, and then this week Nancy's families came down from Kansas City and in Las Vegas for a baseball tournament in Orange County. So a bunch of her family's been staying at our house all week.
Are you sure you don't run an Airbnb?
No, we do. We really do. It's just like, well,
Should be charging for this.
We never have an empty house. It's always full of family and stuff like that. So it's fun. But yeah, so Nancy has been going to Orange County every day, hanging out. And yeah, I was preparing for the sermon, so that was fun. And then Deb, who lives in Vegas, she drove all the way from Orange County and spent the night at her house Saturday so she could come bright and early and listen to me preach. So that was very sweet of her. And a miracle happened. Deb was here. She got Nancy to the 10 o'clock service. Or the 11 o'clock service. She got her here early.
What?
Early.
Did you tell her she was coming to first?
For the 11:30 service. I think Nancy was here at 11 o'clock for the 11:30 service. I'm telling you, that is a miracle. Not since the resurrection of Christ. It's something so significant.
Are you telling me I got to use this Sunday when I'm talking about wonders?
Maybe. Yeah. Not since the resurrection of Christ. Something so miraculous happened. I was impressed. So,
That's funny.
so boom, chakalaka. But again, we took 2 weeks off because you guys were on vacation and we couldn't arrange to get it out there before you guys left. And so here we are again. We did a week, we skipped a week, we did a week, we skipped a week. But we're back.
We are back.
Hopefully we're back for a while until I retire. That was another thing that got announced on Sunday.
Yes.
Before I thank you for the message. That was kind of sweet. But yeah, so I'm glad they gave me a little heads up ahead of time, because I think if I would have just got that little video announcement from you as I was walking up on stage, it probably would have thrown me off. But it was very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, they warned you. That's good.
yeah, they did warn me. So, all right. So again, this is one of the first times I think that we are doing 2 different weeks sermons from 2 different sermon series.
Oh, yeah.
So the one sermon was the Take It Together. It was Take the Promise series. And your last one was Take It Together. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll go into mine, which was Joshua chapter 2. And the series is called
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder. And so we'll be talking about that over the next, what is it, like 6-7 weeks?
Yeah, it's quite a while.
Yeah, so that's good. So again, we on your sermon, you were talking about taking the promise together, and one of the things that you talked about is that we are saved to good works, and that we are called to the Great Commission. Salvation doesn't begin and end with us. It's not about us. It's about God, and He has told us what our purpose is. Adam had a purpose. Post-fall, we have a purpose to make Him known. So you also talked about leadership as well, and the path of leadership is to be a good follower, right? And so I thought that was kind of a unique take. I've never necessarily heard that take before, because everybody just thinks about leading, and if you are a good leader, you actually are following a leader somewhere,
Typically.
And ultimately Christ, if you're a Christian. So I thought we would talk about that a little bit, and then being a follower as well, because as a leader, you're following. And I loved what you said. There's all these leadership books. Everybody wants to be a leader, but there's no follower books out there. How to be a good follower.
Well, I find there are a few, I guess, but they're not well known. I just kind of pulled it up real quick. I'm like, what is there? Yeah, followership. There's some stuff out there, but all of it's very niche. So very like
followership. How to get people to follow you as you lead.
Yeah. It's just not glamorous, right? Nobody wants to go like, well, what are you? I'm a follower.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that sounds bad. No, we're supposed to be leaders. Very American. Leaders.
Independent.
When we were talking about your sermon, the big thing that I kept thinking about is how, one of the main core sins in humanity is pride, So it's interesting to me that there's this pull for everybody to want to be a leader. And I mean, that's not always true, because there are those people that, follow and they get drug into things that are really bad. And, we get afraid of certain people being followers. But there's an aspect to being a follower that God is calling us to that produces humility in us, that is it's a spiritual thing. God wants us to submit. God wants us to learn to follow in the right way, right?
Gives you voice, right? I think that the thing that I've discovered is we think of followers as like sheeple, right? Jesus calls us sheep, and then we're like, oh, that just means we're dumb, witless followers. We just go wherever God tells us, and that's very anti-enlightenment. But then we think, I'm listening to the World War II podcast that's come out with Tom Hanks, right? And you can tell there's this tendency to be it's all about the great leaders and with bad followers, right? All the Nazis, all these people are following this guy. How can they? And there's this brainlessness that we think followers have. And I think the Bible's saying, no way. As a follower, you're supposed to be someone who is engaged. And so you get terms like, hey, we'll follow you, Joshua, but only if the Lord's with you like he was with Moses, because we follow the Lord, right? There's this reality in the church where the world doesn't have an account. Who are they accountable to? When you follow a leader, we're like, oh, they're accountable to the people. Well, who are the people accountable to? To each other? And that's why it has to be grounded in God as the ultimate leader, or there's no accountability available for a leader and for people to use, for followers to use to their leader. And so democracy falls apart, republics fall apart without God at a center piece, because there's no moral standard. It's I think that's something we were reading. Also, Carl Truman pointed out as he was asked on a podcast, can you create a moral society as atheists? And he was sort of I don't know all the world's possibilities, but ultimately he had to land on, there's always a question of who's the ultimate authority then. If you're all going to follow and elect somebody, why? What are the qualities, and why those qualities, and why not another set of qualities? And it's just, that's a huge mess that we're in right now. It's confusing. And you look at this, and a good follower is somebody who's I'm following you because you're following who I ultimately want to follow, and I believe God's called me to follow you. Otherwise, a lot of scriptures don't make sense about leadership.
And I think too, early on in your being the senior pastor, we talked a lot about not so much of leadership isn't moral, right? So much about leadership is literally just pointing in a direction and then making decisions and going. And so as long as the person that you're following is a moral person who loves God and is, following God, then you really can get behind a lot. There's a lot of things and people you could get behind and make something happen, right? If you choose, hey, I'm going to submit and not be the leader, and I'm going to follow this person, obviously not into sin, but just I think that a lot of times we want to make everything moral so that our opinion matters about what they're doing. So we want to critique the leader, and we want them to be wrong. Right? We want it to be a moral issue instead of just okay, we just have a different opinion and I'm going to choose to follow them anyways, as long as it's moral.
In the direction they're pointing. But I'm not going to follow them. And that's really important in a church. Yeah. I think that is that while we all should be moral, leader or not leader, everyone should be following Christ and be moral. One of the secrets that I think we've always talked about in the church, and maybe people don't realize, is that as the senior pastor, one of those weird things is that the elders are only my leader together, right? So they have a voice together, and that's because I'm their pastor. I minister to them, and they're involved. But what people don't realize is that sometimes I follow leaders who are beneath me. For example, Jacob runs and organizes our service. And if he's telling me get on stage for something, I'm not well, I'm the senior pastor. How dare you tell me to do this? It's no. As a good leader, I become a good follower because he's empowered for that job at that time. And if I was to buck that, I'm actually destroying his leadership. But if I follow him in what he says, I'm empowering his leadership. I'm actually helping other people follow him better too. And that's the power of followership. There's way more power in followership.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, do you think that even with a mediocre idea, not a bad idea, but a mediocre idea.
Not an evil idea, but just,
no, I mean,
even
a
bad idea.
No, we're not talking evil. We're talking, because remember, we're moral. Right. We're talking about being moral.
Just kind of a bad idea.
But no, I'm not talking about a bad idea. I'm talking about a mediocre idea.
Okay.
So not
an
excellent.
Best, it's not the worst.
It's just mediocre.
Yeah.
If people choose to go along with it, you can get a band of people and they can make it happen. And it's not even the best idea, but it can make something happen. It's maybe it wasn't even the best way to make it happen, but they can do it. I don't know. I'm wondering, do you think that that's powerful? Like,
oh, totally.
It doesn't take, the best idea, right? It takes people all going in the same direction.
I think it's important and powerful in the sense too that you're heading in a direction with unity, right? Mm-hmm. Because I do feel like, some of the problems we've had with leadership, right, and followership is people branching out on their own. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going this way, and they're like, I think we should do this. I think we should do this. And then there's this big schism about which direction we should go, and then everything gets totally disjointed. So, I mean, even like a mediocre, if we get behind it, you can make things happen, and things can always get elevated, later. Mm-hmm. But the unity part is so important. Again, as long as there's everyone's pursuing Christ, right? And I do feel like we kind of made a mistake years and years ago, in the early stages, right? Mm-hmm. Where we were like, okay, we want to empower our ministry leaders, and so that all our ministry leaders feel empowered and they're kind of owning their ministry and leading their ministry. And here's the church's vision statement. So every ministry, I want you guys to come up with your own vision statement, and it really kind of got a little convoluted about who we were as a church.
Yeah, we started joking, right, that we are, Olive Branch is a conglomeration of ministries, not a single church marching in the same direction.
And it kind of felt that way for a little while. And I felt like, we probably were not as effective as we could have been because everybody kind of felt like they owned what they did. And I mean, there's not a problem with having ownership and being a leader in the ministry. But it's like, no, these are my volunteers. This is my ministry. And so it caused these tensions where instead it's just like, okay, no, we're a church. There's one mission statement. We're all in this together. And so part of it is, how do you fit in to that mission statement? How does your ministry fit in to making that move forward? Like starting point, as for new believers, or people that want to just kind of grow in their faith. The first week is called the story, right? The first week. And it's the whole idea of it is, I think we kind of feel as though, okay, this is my life. This is my story. Where does God fit into my story? And it's like, no, this is God's story. Where do you fit in to God's story? Right. So again, kind of that vision statement thing. There's one vision statement that we're all going for. How do we fit into that versus?
It's really why churches that get away from the Great Commission and the Great Commandments as their mission wind up being not churches, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we may all say it differently. We're going to grow and we're going to connect and grow and grow and whatever. There's all these different ones, or love, live, and share as we say it. But in the end, it's not it's actually just this kind of same statement. It's the same thing. We're just trying to put it in terms that energize or reflect what the Great Commission and the Great Commandments actually state. And I think that's the kind of the secret. It's like we're gathered, and that's why I'm not against other churches when we're all on this after the gospel. But we may like a different form of music. We may be reaching a different group of people. That's okay. Let's do this. And as a wise person told my wife once, to be one voice in the choir of many to the glory of God. We don't have to be everybody.
We
doesn't
don't
have
be
to
threatened by other people.
Right.
And just relationally is so important in a church too. I mean, it's like when you're with your grandkids or your kids and they have different interests in you, and it's just like, well, that's not really what I'm interested in. Well, you know what? To be an integral part of their life, maybe you have to find interest in what they're interested in. And I think as a church, we're trying to reach people that aren't necessarily, grew up in the hymns and in suit and ties. And so part of it is like, okay, we need to be interesting to them in a godly way so that we can interact and engage with them, more effectively instead of just like, no, this isn't for me. I'm out of here.
Well, that's right. I actually had somebody walk up and tell me they were happy that I brought up this idea of followership. because they were like, yeah, I read leadership books all the time at church. He's like, I don't want to be a leader. I'm good. I want to help make something happen. And that's so powerful, right? But I think that leads us back to that, what the Spirit of God does. He doesn't gift everybody with leadership. He gifts us with different things. Some are administrators, some are leaders, some are gifted in hospitality, some are gifted in service, some are gifted in worship. And there's all of these giftings that when they've come together, they produce this vibrant movement of God. Like the church is an amazing concept. It's multicultural, it's artistic and scientific and leader oriented and helpful and deep and maturing. It's supposed to be all of this stuff, almost like a full society in of itself, because it's representing the kingdom of God. And it's so like, I feel like there's something in the culture that sucks it out, right? Like all the gifting God gives you winds up being used in businesses and other places. And then they come to the church and they're like, I do that for work. I don't really want to do that for my church. And it's like, no, what if that's the very gifting and the skill God gave you so that the kingdom of God can expand at your church or expand in your people? And so I do think that it's hard because there is this diversity of gifts, and sometimes we're just not interested in knowing them, because then it's like, I don't know, maybe I don't know if we've ever ran into this. It's probably a cynical take on my behalf, is like, I don't want to know my gifts because then I'd have to do something. It's like,
yeah. And part of that too is, we were talking about being followers and everybody's their own giftedness. And one of the topics you brought up in there too is that we're not a cruise ship here for everybody's leisure, right? It's not like WALL-E, the movie WALL-E, where everything's taken care of. Somebody's feeding you, somebody's dressing
awesome
you.
AI is doing all that.
And you're just sitting in the seats, big, fat, and happy, that no, we're a battleship. And yeah, there may be an element of service going on because the mess hall is cooking food for the entire crew, so there's service going on, but we are all engaged in this together. And you were talking about, that we can't be loafers. We can't be consumers when it comes to church. So I thought we could kind of chew on that, what that looks like.
Well, that was kind of your observation, actually, when I was practicing. It was like, I brought up the idea of loafers, but it was this kind of need that, there are we allow loafers to live in the church, right? Like we need to call one another.
Well, I think what I said, you brought up the example of working on a group project, and there, most people have had an experience where they were working on a group project and there was people in it that really didn't pull their weight. And, everybody rolls their eyes like, oh, I hate group projects because there's people that just loaf and they let everybody else do all the work. And one of the things that I said to him when we were talking about it was that, like, well, why does that happen in group projects? Because we let them. Like the people in the group, the teachers, the parents, nobody's calling them out and like saying, hey, you actually have to do this.
Stop
or else
loafing.
You don't get a grade, And so I told him, I was like, oh, you should call the church people out. Like, hey, what, are you the loafer? Like, stop it. Like,
and
get
then
involved.
to challenge each
With
other.
the group project, you turn in a report of how much people contributed.
Right? Like 0.
Yeah. Well, and then I also dislike that in group projects, we don't rightly assign the tasks. Like you end up putting a whole bunch of people together and nobody's a leader, nobody's an organizer, nobody's good. You're all good at creating ideas, but nobody's good at getting it done, or nobody's good at creating any ideas. It's like, no, there's a right way to set up group projects. Whole other rant and rant that I don't need to go on. But I do think that in the church, the danger is that everybody is there. God knows. God is a genius. God's the genius of geniuses. And he's put his church together with us involved and everybody listening and everybody that goes to the church or goes once every 3 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever the stat is now. God knows, and they're actually gifted for the sake of the kingdom of God's work at Olive Branch. Like they're here. And when we don't participate, when we loaf, we cause the entire church to limp. Like there is this just like small group energized and doing stuff, and they're burning out and getting exhausted because they're using their gifts and all. And to be honest, I'm going to put it kind of bluntly, but when people loaf, you drag them with you on a mission. And they eat the resources and they take up the space in a way that's like, oh man, we're having to do more work than when everyone was involved.
Yeah, it's kind of like our paddleboarding experience.
Oh yeah, that's great. We went paddleboarding down at
And I said that I wanted
In
to...
shark-infested waters
I think
again.
Oh, she looked it up.
Yeah.
While we were out on the
You know what, Greg? I
paddleboard.
think this spot over there would be really good for you.
Thankfully, we were both on the paddleboard together, so it
But
was.
I wanted to start because I'm like, I want to get a workout. He's obviously stronger than me. He's going to do most of the paddling, but I want to start, you know? And I...
And it's the paddleboard's unstable in the sense that we have two of us on it, and I'm a big guy, and I'm in the front, and I'm trying to figure out how not to knock her off, and she's standing up, and so I get my feet in the water just to stabilize. So I'm like, okay, this is stable, and so she
I'm
starts
paddling, and I'm like digging into the water and like not moving very far. And
it's
he
taking
was like,
forever.
kind of, I think, thought, wow, Theressa, you're really pathetic. Like you're not going very fast.
No, I thought, man, this current's rough or
No,
something
you
like
did
that.
not.
Yes, I did. I was not. Look, there had been another time we went down to the beach and we were riding our bikes, and I did have this attitude towards her about like, what's wrong with you? You're stronger than this. This is ridiculous. Lo and behold, she's been riding with a flat tire for miles and miles, and I'm like, I'm a jerk.
Well,
This was not one of those cases.
This situation,
but
we realized he picked up his feet
And put them
all
on
of a
the
sudden,
board.
The board
wow.
just went.
just
So-
jamming. Like I'm like, oh, sorry, Theressa.
So that's like a loaf, right? Like not only was he not doing anything, but then he put his feet down and it was like dragging the whole paddleboard. So I'm
Making
trying to
her-
have to make up for, that.
I was giving her a workout.
Yeah.
See, I'm a nice husband.
You're so sweet.
Yeah.
I'm so sweet.
Good. Now, with both of you on the paddleboard, she didn't pull the Rose in Titanic and go, there's not enough room on here for both of us. Yeah. There's sharks. The sharks are coming.
That's a giant door.
But okay, so one of the things I was thinking about with the loafing in the church, I think that the way forward is not being upset that people are loafing, but being really good at knowing the people around you, the people that you know at the church, and finding a spot for them, and like not allowing them to do nothing, but like finding a spot that fits who they are and who God made them. And there's nothing better than when somebody sees something in you and they say, I could see you doing a really great job at this, or like you have the talent for this area. It makes you want to do it, and so I think if we can get good as a church at doing that for each other and one another, it will help not allow people to just loaf, but like do it in a positive way rather than a negative, like berating people.
Right.
get
No,
involved.
and that was tongue in cheek on the loafing stuff but the aim was like, wake up if you are. Now there's also another group that's not loafing, but they may feel guilty like they are. And I think that's the wounded
Yeah.
and those who need care.
And maybe the brand new Christians that are
Right. They just don't know yet.
just here to,
Usually
feed.
they're the most excited to get involved.
They are actually. It's
they're
really
on
the
fire.
long-term Christians who have been. I've heard this more than anything. Well, I've done my time. I've served as if it's like there's like
They clocked out.
Yeah, they're done. It's like, well, you check out of your family too. That's not what we want to do. God's gifts don't go away. God's callings don't go away. And we've lived longer than we've ever have in history, and that means we serve longer. There's even more. There's wisdom to have, and I think a lot of people check themselves out now because they don't feel like they have anything to give back, because your body doesn't have the same energy level, and there's these things. But honestly, it's the church that we should return to. We're not going to learn from the youth. We're going to learn from the wisdom of the adult. We're going to learn from the wisdom of those who've gone before us, because of what they've learned. It can be poured back into the youth, and that wisdom grows instead of shrinks. I think that's critical. Second is, if you are in a state where you need care, that should be a temporary thing. There is a very real conversation that's beginning out in kind of the zones that we talk about with worldview, and that therapy is becoming a perpetual thing. But that's not what...
It's not making you better.
Yeah, that's not what counseling's for. That's not what benevolence is for. It's supposed to help you get over the hump of the problem, get back on your feet so you can get re-engaged in what God's called you to do, to get back on the mission. And, I mean, that's how we've tried to handle benevolence and different things, right?
Yeah. For the most part, yeah. Like the first time they come, we very limitedly pry into what's going on in their life. our first response is always, we want to say yes, you know. But if they come back within a short period of time, you know, then it's like, okay, well, just giving you money isn't going to fix your situation. How do we get more involved in helping you figure this out?
Problem,
Because, you know,
being more
and
of a
that's
solution.
Yeah, and that's really one of the things that I always try to explain to people is benevolence isn't there. And I do feel like we are a very generous church when it comes to our benevolence fund and helping people through financial crisis. But it's not set up to support you because we can't support numerous families, you know, at the church. It's there to help you get on your feet and help you get over a hurdle.
Or to not fall into the perpetual problem.
Right. And so part of it is like, you know, I need help with my rent or my house payment or my car payment or whatever it is you need. What's your plan next month? You know, is this going to get you over that hump and now you have a plan moving forward? Or really, are you going to need to have the same conversation next month or the month after that? And that's what we don't want to do. If you can't afford your house, you know, then we don't want to just throw away a bunch of money for the inevitable, you know, situation. So,
and I think the same thing is with church hurt, with family crisis. Like the goal is to go like, how do we help you grieve, mourn, process this, get through it, and then re-engage the faith the Lord your God has given you, because wounds do happen, and our call in Galatians is to carry one another to getting re-engaged. And so we want that care process to support you, not to make you dependent. And that's a very different thing. It doesn't mean there's not aid, but it doesn't mean that the aid is forever. So, because we need to be using these gifts, and that's what God's given us that ability to do. So I wouldn't call you a loafer if you're in a wounded position. Right. I would say you need to get healing. You need to get better.
I do think that there's different seasons in life. There are some people that have more time, and it's okay. And I'm really against putting. If one person wants to, you know, be involved in 5 ministries and they really, really do love it, I'm against putting that onto everyone. Like, that's not how everybody wants to live, you know?
Nor so, like, can they live that way.
Finding just a bite size of something that you could be a part of, you know, that you're pouring back in and you're not, you know, doing.
Most people I know who do the bite size wind up taking on more because God uses them and they love it. And so there's a process we oftentimes we'll talk about in like our Live Keystone. I believe that's where it is. We talk about the difference between like when you start, most of us if you don't know what your gifting is, that doesn't give you an excuse not to engage in service. See, gifting comes before maturity, right? So you're always gifted before you're mature enough to use your gift well. So obedience comes with the gifting. And so that's the first stage. You're gifted, but you just need to obey in service. Sometimes you just need to pick up a need. The church says, we have a need. Grab it. Do it out of obedience. Do it out of care. Then you'll discover what that gift is. And as you're going through service, you're going to be discipled and growing. Then engage with your gift in a ministry. And then as you're doing that, you're going to discover a passion. Maybe it's a heart for youth, or maybe it's a heart for some other ministry. And you're going to take that giftedness and those skills you've learned, and you'll be able to transfer them into that passion area of your life. And that's a process I saw for me. I've seen it in a lot of people. It started with just serving where I could serve, and then finding out, I'm gifted in these ways, and then discovering I had gifts I didn't even know I had, because the Spirit can give you gifts you don't have naturally, and that led me into the ministry that I do. So,
and again, the loafer and consumer mentality, right? I mean, one of the things is when you talk about consumers at church, they're the ones that aren't engaged in the purpose and the mission of church and what we're trying to do and what we've been called to do. And I will say that there are some people that probably are consumers but don't feel that way because they come every Sunday and they tithe or they give, and so I'm supporting the ministries financially, but that's as far as their engagement goes. And I'm, my pushback on that would be, no, we are all to be engaged in ministry and in serving one another. So yeah, the financial gifts are appreciated. But if I was, my household, right, and I was like, I work and I come home with a paycheck and I put it in the bank and I'm supporting this family, and so I don't have to engage. I don't have to get involved with the kids. I don't have to get them ready. I don't have to take them to school. I don't have to help them with their homework. I don't have to engage with my wife. Giving is enough engagement for me. You would kind of look at me side-eyed and go, wow, that's kind of a questionable attitude, And so I think at church, I think we can fall into that. And it's like, no, we need one another. We need one another's giftings, strengths, and weaknesses to really be effective as a church. And just a reminder, we are all the church, right?
Yeah, not just staff,
Yeah.
not just the elders.
Not just a sign on the door,
And I think that's why there's two kinds of people who go through our partnership classes, right? I found that there are those who are like, we say, yeah, you got to be a partner who's got a voice at the church, and you've got to be somebody who's serving. And they're like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I got to be on the team and I want to
Obviously,
contribute.
yeah.
And then there are those who are like, how dare you tell me that I have to serve in order to vote here? And it's like, I don't understand. Like, that does not compute.
And even changing the name to partnership, right? We're partnering together in ministry. Well, how can you tell me I have to serve? That should come from the heart, right?
That's why
it's hard to partner together when somebody's not partnering.
Right.
This isn't a group project.
See, there we go. We're back. And it is biblical for people who are like, where's the biblical precedent for having to serve? Well, like when the partners in the text, then we switched from using membership because you can point to all the giftedness. By the way, everybody with a gift was expected to be used in the body of Christ, and you're a member of Christ. And what they go like, well, that's if you're a Christian. Agreed. So partners are also those who then joined with Paul. He calls them my partners. He calls them those who have stepped up and my fellow workers in Christ. Paul never referenced these people who weren't doing anything. He was like, no, you guys are partnered and you're my co-workers in this. And that's what we're talking about. So there's a lot of that. And I think it's super valuable. I love it when I see a church energized and working together and seeing new ideas sparking and growing and moving.
Yeah. And I think for me, I haven't fully processed all of it, but I think that there's a lot there in the followership. And like, for me, it's exciting to think about, even with a mediocre idea, people can get a lot done if we're going in the same direction. So it causes me to be like, oh, I want to do some more work in my heart and like really, how good am I doing at actually following and like what's going on there? Like there's just more there for me, and I feel like
same here. I'm in the same space.
And I mean, some of those concepts too kind of translate into the sermon that I just did.
Okay,
right. Cool. And the pathways, God's already there. And so one of the things that
by the way, you did a great job.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. So. I don't like your jokes about me, but whatever.
Yeah, you went to first service, so the jokes grew each service. So, and I will say this, we always make fun of each other, right? You make fun of me all the time, and to me, I always enjoy that in the sense that I feel like it shows the closeness of the staff when we tease each other on stage or make fun of each other. It just shows that we love each other, we care about each other, and we're comfortable, and so I like it. So, and I like that you laugh and you don't like reprimand me. And so, but one of the things that popped up from mine sermon was the idea of how do you know when it's God's voice or your own ideas, right? And I kind of mentioned like, what percentage of certainty do you need before you act? So you were talking about the giftedness and like, I'm not sure. How much certainty do we need before we step forward?
Yeah, I think that varies for each person. I think there are some people who are a little bit more like, I got 30%, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Like they're just, I've met
ready,
some
fire,
of those
aim.
Yeah, there are a lot of people I've known that are like that. And then there's the cautious who are like, I need 90, 98%. Like they're hold.
They'll never really be ready.
Hold, but what if, and they do. They really kind of freeze up. But I think like when in this case, like with Rahab saying like, "Oh no, we're all melting. We're all so scared of you guys." Like, who? That's a 100% lock. Like you go in, you come back. Like who would be opposed? And yet there's still the people who'd be like, "Well, hold on.
Yeah.
How are we going to attack Jericho? Like how what exactly is the plan for establishing ourselves after we've attacked Jericho? Like what's the food supply going to look like? I don't think that we've really thought this through enough to know how we're going to manage to get across the Jordan." And then like you can imagine, regardless of the fact that they're melting, you've got these people who are like, no. Logistics. We need to get it all down and detailed out before we I'm poking at you a little bit.
I know. I was gonna say. I brought it up that's me. That I need to be a lot more certain that this is gonna work before I can really jump in with both feet. But there's a difference.
How do you hear
that,
from
I
the
think.
Lord?
But when I feel like the Lord is leading me, versus not sure it's the Lord leading me, when do you act? And one of the things I like what you brought up earlier is. If it's a good idea, it doesn't necessarily, have to be fully moral. I mean, I'm not talking moral versus immoral. I'm talking it doesn't have to be a moral decision to do something good, and move forward. I feel like you can make decisions if you're like, I think it might be God. I'm not sure it's God, but this is a good idea.
I loved your illustration of saying to pray for that woman in line. That was like so powerful because it's just so regular. Like who hasn't felt like, oh my gosh, that is so heartbreaking. I need to pray for you right now. And then we just let it go. Like that was that an evil thing you were going to do? Was that against the Lord? No, he tells us to pray for people. He tells us to talk about them. He tells us to share. And I think that's what you were getting at, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of this like, if it's the Lord, when it lines up with what he would tell you if you're sitting next to you, hey, why don't you go pray for that person? Oh no, I don't want to do that.
and the thing was, I mean, like I shared, it wasn't necessarily go pray with her. It was just let her know you're going to pray for her.
I thought that was so simple.
I mean, how simple is that?
Right?
To just go, I'm praying for you.
So why do you think you didn't do it?
I don't know if I mentioned it first service when you were there. I think I might have expounded on it at a later service. But the idea, I think it's kind of creepy when strange men talk to stranger women, right? And I don't mean weird stranger
women.
Because like there's so many times that like I'm leaving Stater Brothers and I see an older woman lifting this big thing of water bottles to try to load them in her car. And I think to myself, I should just walk over there and ask her if she needs help loading her car. And, and I'm thinking, oh, she's probably going to freak out. And then she's probably going to go, yo, get away from me.
Bear spray.
Yeah. And I feel like, from more incidences than not, they would be like, what are you up to? I don't feel safe, and so I think that was kind of the wrestling match was just how weird would this seem to her? And that's where I let myself talk me out of it. But the point of that too was, it was 2 years ago. It was so simple of a request, and it's still eating at me that I didn't do it.
Now, what's fascinating is I have a similar negative thinking process, and I was listening to, I think it was a TED Talk, and the guy said when they did a psychological experiment, and they had people go assuming like we do, they were less likely to engage with people, and their day felt less satisfying. And people who thought, no, everybody wants to talk to me, and when they went with that attitude, they had practically zero negative situations. They would be on subways in New York and just go, hey, what's that book? That's a really interesting book. What do you read? And just like expecting that it would, and they would actually have positive interactions, and it built their enjoyment and engagement in their day. They had a more meaningful
habit, right? A muscle.
Yes, it's a muscle.
Okay, so it reminds me of what you've said in the past. You used to tell me that, because you're so funny, and you said the secret is that I just say a million jokes and maybe 2 of them land, and so now you think I'm funny.
Yeah, all you remember are the good ones.
So I think that happens with human interaction too, in the sense that you can interact and have these positive experiences, and it's really positive, and then there are some awkward people that you try to talk to and it doesn't go well.
Like a homeless person.
Kind of sloughs off. Well, that was extreme.
It was.
But like, I mean, like sometimes you'll try to interact with somebody that's super shy and they really just don't want to talk, But I think that the more you try to engage, the less it will be awkward and weird. And I was going to say it with men being creepy. I don't know if I'm right.
Was that a statement? Men are creepy?
No, but it really is an issue,
if you
right?
think you're creepy, you're going to come across as creepy.
I think that it's a way that you present yourself. It's not that, I'm a strange guy. I really do think that there's like this present, like you can see it in their eyes. Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm just super intuitive, and so that's not how everybody experiences it.
Well,
I don't think that if you two came up to me and like tried to help me, and I didn't know you, that I would be like super creeped out by it. I'm concerned that I
would normalize it for this woman, and one day it would be a serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, she would get comfortable with strange men walking up to her, talking to her.
People coming and helping her, and then the one time she's finally comfortable,
true.
it's just like it's another cynical take.
That's actually why I hated the Silence of the Lambs, because it made me very cynical about like wanting to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an enemy ploy. I really do. I think that the enemy wants us to be worried about helping people. I think he wants us to be self-conscious.
Obviously I hated it because it was about a serial killer.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But the effect was that it's destructive. And I do think that there is like, what is that percentage that you need? You need to ask yourself that. Like, if the Lord's calling you to something and you're like, well, I don't know if that's the voice of the Lord. If it's a good thing, it's probably the voice of the Lord, especially if it's not something you would do naturally.
Especially if you're like hesitant, right?
Right.
Like
your flesh is like, no, that's a good
it's
sign.
Like if God's telling you to move to Hawaii and, go get that hot guy, it's probably not the Lord.
Not the Lord.
Your flesh.
No, he told me that she's the one. Yeah, no, I don't. Did she tell her that? Did he tell her that? That's like, I don't know how that works. Yeah. But I do. Yeah, it's that kind of like, and I think sometimes it's unexpected. Like here, I'll give you an example. The spies are there. They've gone in. They've ran into Rahab, right?
The bumbling spies.
These I love these bumbling spies. They're just my favorite. Like, I got to get into this for a second, but they're going to go in, and Rahab unexpectedly tells them, hey, we're all this way. And
we're all scared.
Yeah, they're not looking for that. They're there to look around what's going on. What do we need to know? But they get this confirmation. They get this calling. I think that's a good example also when you know it's the Lord. You're not necessarily, maybe you're looking for what the Lord's wanting to do. You'll naturally start automatically. It's not the Lord. It's just you're in his zone. You're on his mission. Mm-hmm. You'll talk to anybody. It's when you're not, and he's like, hey, I want you to be on mission right now. Do this. If it's coming out of an unexpected territory, I doubt that's the enemy or yourself telling you something. And even if it is yourself telling you, it's still in the zone of the Lord. If he's telling you to go lie to somebody, that's not the Lord. That's the evil. Yeah. So,
and that's the thing too is we talk about the calling of the Lord, the leading of the Lord, and it being fear. And I brought it up in my sermon. You brought it up right now too. Was the idea that if this was from our own flesh, if this was coming out of our desires, it would be easy to do those things. So the idea that it feels risky or there's fear involved in this usually is a sign that it's probably from the Lord calling you out of your comfort zone, right? And I love this quote, and I don't know where it came from, but it said, if Satan can't stop us with sin, he often will stop us with fear. So when it comes to fear and acting on what you feel like God is calling you, what are some of the most difficult fears for you to overcome in obeying God? Like a fear of failure, a fear of rejection, looking foolish, that this is going to be the wrong decision.
Oh, it's totally feeling feeling like a fool. Totally foolishness. Feeling like I'm an awkward, like, I just botched that up. I feel like an idiot. Like that's totally the one. And then probably a fear of success. Like,
because now comes responsibility.
Right. Oh, crud. I just brought you to, now I got to disciple you. Now I don't know, where am I going to, I got to answer all, okay, how are we going to do this? So it's almost like all my life been obsessed with building the discipleship system so that we're ready for the evangelisms, because What do I do when I finally reach them? It's like that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Tress?
I think it's just in different things. Like with people and talking to people out in the world, I'm in my head a lot. So it's probably more just a comfort thing. Like I like talking to myself. And
Really?
so then I have to be in public and I have to like get out of my own
It's a
head.
muscle,
And it's a muscle that I have to like practice.
And now with earbuds, it's so easy to
It's
stay
so easy to
in your
just
head.
disappear and
Yeah.
like enjoy what I'm listening to and not engage anybody.
Okay, I walk in your office a lot, and you got your earbuds in. You're working on the computer. Let me just ask you: when you doing that, right?
Uh-huh.
And I know 80% of it is simply just to tune me out when I walk into your office, but
I actually don't have my earbuds in.
no, I always see you like pull something out when you.
I mean, I've done it a couple times, but I don't even bring them to
Only
work.
when you're coming in.
yeah,
I just,
exactly.
I hear you coming and
Is
I'm like,
Brent in today? Okay.
earbud in.
But aside from that, just when you do that, right? Can you really pay attention to what's going on inside your ears while you're typing out emails or writing reports or doing whatever?
Oh, it depends. Yeah, there's
'Cause I
certain
cannot.
things I can do. Yeah, I can. It depends on what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah?
Like sometimes I'm just analyzing his calendar and like sending out invites and coordinating that kind of stuff. I can totally listen to something and
I
but-
absolutely cannot.
yeah.
And yeah,
Now I cannot read an email and listen. I've
Yeah.
tried.
yeah.
It does not work as
You
much
get, you
as
get some interesting results when that happens.
as much as I want it to work.
Yeah, it's like trying to lick your elbow. You can't do it. For me, I think part of the fear, and I think it's twofold for me. One is the fear of failure. I was not really raised up in a perfectionist home where you had to be perfect, right? But I fear failure probably more than anything else, and I think it comes from the second part of my hesitation is I by nature am a people pleaser, right? And so walking up to a woman to ask her to load up her heavy groceries, on the good side of thinking about that is I want to please, I want to make her happy, I want to help somebody out. On the bad side of that, I don't want her to be uncomfortable. I don't want to scare her. I don't want to make her uncomfortable or feel unsafe. So there's that wrestling that goes on. And it's the same thing with failure is I don't want to let somebody down, And so it's not as much about me failing, it's about me letting somebody down. And those are probably the two biggest hangups or fears for me when it comes to taking a step, especially a risky step.
And then there's you don't want to insult them, right? Because Brent, there's times where I'm watching you carry stuff and I'm like, dude, I need to carry this for you. And you're like,
you sound like my wife. But yeah, it's, I don't want to insult them unless I'm doing it on purpose,
Unless it's a joke.
Unless I can make them
trying to
laugh.
get a laugh.
So again, talking about fear and stepping out in the Lord, do you think courage comes before faith, or do you think it comes because of faith? And do you feel like there are people that are just naturally courageous? And I'm not talking about people that you see on YouTube that are reckless. I'm talking about people who just have a courage in them. Do you think it's innate? Do you think it's something that is learned and,
I will speak to this idea that I think that faith is the seedbed for courage. So I think having faith in Christ and knowing what you believe and really holding that will help you engage your courage that the Spirit of God gives you. I think people have different things that are more comfortable for them than others. I have no problem getting on a stage and talking to people. It doesn't scare me. It's not bothered me since I was young. It's one of the people who are like, oh, I hate I'm like, I can't wait. It's like something about my makeup. That's not a fear for me to overcome. Make me sit down and memorize people's names and I got to get it right and tell you and be interpersonal. Oh gosh, my anxiety, my fear increases. It causes me to back away. And so I have to be courageous when I do that kind of stuff. Some people are like, that's ridiculous. Talking to people is easy. Blah, blah, I could never do what you do. And so I've met people who are like, super courageous to go run straight into a fiery building or whatever, but they can't talk to their kids about sex. They're like it would fall apart. I've seen men who are super courageous on like football fields or whatever. They can't ask a girl out. There is this. I think it's a courage. Courage has to be applied to where your fear is, and everybody has different fears. Everybody has different things they're wrestling with.
So where is your fear, other than talking to people?
Social fear. I have, I get some fears when it comes to like doing risky, dangerous like things. Like I think I would have some fears.
Like going to the beach with your wife.
Like going out in the middle of the ocean with
that's
a
scary.
kayak and then shark-infested waters. But I did it.
Yeah.
Apparently, she's more courageous than me.
But with regards to your faith, though, like what?
Yeah, again, I think
focus?
it's like evangelism. Like it's always been harder for me. I don't like cold turkey evangelism. It's not my favorite thing to do.
And do you feel like God is calling you to that?
Sometimes, yeah. But
Would
I
you
find
say it's tied up in a fear of rejection, or?
Oh no, it's in a total fear of interrupting somebody's life. Like just
You feel rude.
I feel rude. I feel like I'm being a jerk by just stepping in. And so I do way better when I have an excuse. Like I like having those conversations on airplanes for some reason. Far easier because I can ask about their life. And I know where I'm guiding the conversation. If they don't want to talk to me, I feel rude being that that's why I was a bad salesman. I just, even when you came into the pool supply store, I couldn't sell you something that you wanted. Because I was like, I don't know if you really want this, and I wouldn't buy it. Why would you buy it? It's like that kind of a thing. So that's where I really think my biggest fear resides, and in screwing up the follow up. Like I get massive anxiety. I love it when people raise hands, but I get really big anxiety after they raise their hands, and I'm just got to go follow up with them because I'm like, oh, crud, I have not. I'm the pastor. I'm like, I could disciple you right now. Let's sit down. I'll walk you through a whole bunch of stuff and start teaching you. But it's like, oh, no, I got to get you something you got to take home, and I got to make sure that you're connected. And so that feeling like I'm going to drop you, that's a big fear, stress for me.
I would say when I started working here, and part of my job was following up with new believers, and I always wanted to meet with them, take them out for coffee, and hear their story and disciple them. And for a long time, people would fill out a card, they give their life to the Lord, and we'd let them know we're going to reach out to you, and then you couldn't get a hold of them. They just ghosted you, right? And I always just felt so disappointed, like I failed, and and then there's this anxiety, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I can't reach them. And I really kind of got to this more relaxed state to where, because I've seen them, like, then they come back 6 months later and kind of go through the same thing, and then maybe engage at that point. So I'm like, okay, on their timing, God's working on them. It's not up to me, it's up to God. And so sometimes it's just like, all right, God will not stop pursuing them. And so I can take some of the onus off of myself. And like when we're talking about courage and, is it a learned thing? Kind of something you said earlier too. One of them is showing courage in the areas that you're not courageous in, I think is part of it. But I don't know if you learn it, but you get more comfortable with situations that require courage, right? The more you do it, I used to use this example at youth group when we did youth group together, and I would talk to people and I would say, it's like trusting God is like if I told you to get on the roof of the youth house and then just dive off head first, and I'm standing on the pavement going, I'll catch you, and you'll be standing there for an hour, you might even wet your pants thinking about diving off. But then that first dive you do, and I catch you and put you on safe ground, and I go do it again. Okay, the next time it's not going to take you an hour, it might take you a couple of minutes, and then pretty soon you're just running up on the roof going, hey Brent, catch me, and I think that's the way courage works. I don't necessarily think that it's learned as much as it's experienced, and you get more confidence in it. And in saying that, what about the idea that we see God working? I mean, I pointed to Israel, that they saw all of these miracles leading up to the entry of the promised land, and then chickened out and didn't think God would see them through what he promised them at that time, and they rebelled against God. And even in our lives, we see God working, we see God performing miracles all around us all the time, and yet we're afraid when our card is called to step forward. Why do you think we still have a fear after we've seen the promises of God worked out so many times in our lives?
And their card is called, like we're going to die?
No, like,
like you're supposed to do something.
You're supposed to do something.
Oh. I do think there's the enemy. I think that the enemy, I love this. There's this, it's in the beginning of the second book of C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy. And Ransom is going to this house, and as he's getting closer to the house, there's just this sense of fear. And he's like, I need to leave. This probably isn't a good idea. And he goes like, wait, no, I know what this is. And he's like, oh. And so he identifies it as the spiritual warfare that it is. And it's just a beautiful scene of like, are we aware that the enemy doesn't want you to share? He doesn't want you to do good. He wants you to be self-fixated. He wants you to be worried about offending and helping someone and starting a conversation. And if he can get you to start believing that, well, then
he doesn't have to do anything else.
Right. It's the same thing as courage, right? One way, fear is just as strong if I give into it 3 times as it is if I give into courage. It's called exposure. In fact, the more times you give into the fear, the less likely you ever are to make the attempt. But if you're willing to take it 3-4 times, the exposure reduces dramatically by the 4th time, and you're way more willing to do it often. And so I think that when that card is pulled, the enemy knows if I can get you just this one time to stop, I've got you. I've seeded just enough, and if I do it again, now eventually you're gonna live in a pattern. I think this happens to everybody. I think we're unaware of it. We're gung ho as young Christians, willing to try all kinds of stuff. We're trying all kinds, and then slowly at some point we stop being aware, and the enemy catches us just with that simple fear, and then it grows and it grows and it grows to where even pastors can be afraid to follow up with people that they've led to Christ. I mean, it's just the power. That's what I think.
I know. I forgot who it was, but it was years and years ago, like probably 15, 18 years ago. And it was somebody was telling me, and we have a rebellious heart to begin with, right? And so he said, I use my rebellious heart as an advantage, right? So if I'm like in line at Stater Brothers, and I feel this nudging, like you should pray for that person.
Erwin McManus.
Yeah, was that who it was? Or you see that magazine rack right there at the newsstand that has some promiscuous thing, and you feel this little temptation. It's like, I'm going to use that to witness to the person in front of me. I'm going to take the enemy's fears, turn it around, and I'm going to use it to propagate the gospel. And so,
what's crazy is he is a guy who's gone from, kind of a broken life to somebody who takes massive risks in the faith and has done some pretty incredible things. Like he's done some commercials out of his church for like Frito-Lays and stuff. Like he's in LA, but yeah, that was Erwin McManus.
Okay. Yeah. And I thought that was like, all right, I'll show you, devil.
So if he feels a sense of fear
or temptation,
he
flips it around
and just tries to witness
he goes,
somebody.
Yeah, he goes, he allows it to make him angry at the enemy and goes, well, then I'm going to do the thing you don't want me to do.
Right. Yeah. I'll show you.
You're right. Exactly. So using that rebellious heart in a new way.
And so, like the Screwtape Letters, where they're trying to get us to fire, he's trying to get the enemy to leave him alone. Okay, don't tempt that guy. he's just going to populate heaven. So I thought that was a really cool take.
So in the end, the one thing I really want to have fun with, just for the last minute or two, is just like in the text itself is this beautiful picture, and I think everybody should go back and read this, but read it in the understanding look carefully at the spies. This is Joshua chapter 2, and we don't have to go into this. I just wanted to point it out because I did think it was one of those things that, man, for me, highlighted why Rahab is such a amazing person. Like, first you've got these guys, 2 spies that are being sent out secretly. It says, are they secretly being sent from Israel doesn't know they're being sent, or is it they're being sent into Jericho secretly? Well, apparently they're not very good because they're supposed to go view and spy the land, especially Jericho. So they went and came to the house of a prostitute. His name was Rahab. By the way, prostitutes were the ones who ran lodges or inns, and so it was a common place for lots of people to go in. So it'd be like, hey, where are we going to go to pick up information? Most likely you would go to one of these places, not to like, hey, let's go to the prostitute's house. We're in the city. Although you can't put that past some of the people in the Bible, because even, Jacob, I think, not Jacob, Judah did that. So
even in Western movies, the saloon with the hospitality women there, but everybody congregated there, and
right, and it wasn't necessarily
what's going on in the city, who's the new guy.
That's exactly kind of that picture that's going on here. And so Rahab's like running this place with her family's there, and it's likely, king's guys are coming and going. So they show up, and apparently they don't know spycraft very well. So they're just like, hey, we're from Israel. Can you tell us about your town? It's like,
when would be a good time to invade? What do you think?
Exactly. Because the next line is like, it was told to the king, behold, the men of Israel have come here tonight.
Yeah.
They didn't even get to the evening before they're found out. They're here to search out the land. And so the king of Israel goes to Rahab's house. They know where they're at. They've got it all figured. These guys are horrible.
Yeah.
They're worst spies in the world. Statecraft is not Israel's high point at this point. And it's...
They've come a long way.
And this is not Mossad, folks. Rahab is a genius in spycraft. They're like, bring out these guys. And she's like, huh? Who are you talking about? Sure, yeah, the men came, but they don't know where they came from. I don't know where they were from, and when the gates closed at dark, the men were going out before that, so I don't know where the men went. You pursue them before they take off. So this is a great answer to the question. If you were hiding Jews in your home and the Nazis came and knocked on your door, do you tell them the truth because you can't lie? You lie. Rahab lies. Rahab not only lies, she hides them, she protects them, and God calls her righteous and makes her part of the lineage of the Christ.
Yeah. The scriptures doesn't do any moralizing about her. Oh, she lied and said this. She shouldn't have lied.
No, it doesn't at all. The fact that it shows her off as the best person in the text. Because these guys, look, they don't know what to do. These people come to the door, but she brought them up to the roof and hid them in the stalks of flax that she had. So she's like, guys, people are coming. I know they're coming. Go upstairs. They're like, what do we do? What do we do? They're not like the super spies are like, well, we got the secret ability to hide and we know where. No, she hides them. She lies for them. And then she's so good. She takes this whole thing and turns it into leverage for her and her family. And she's like, look, I saved your guys' lives. By the way, the fear of you has fallen upon all of us. We're all freaked out. And because we heard about what the Lord did, the Red Sea, we heard about these things. So, hey, listen, when you go back, be kind to my family. I've been kind to you. And this is true statecraft, like saved your hide, you saved mine. We're freaked out. I know you're going to win. That's why I'm doing this. I mean, Rahab has got massive faith in Yahweh. And these guys are like dealt this amazing person called a person of peace that Jesus would later talk about. I think he's referencing Rahab because he's like, go into these towns, and if you bring your blessing and the blessing falls on them, that's a person of peace. Yeah, this is a really neat thing that you can look for in your evangelism. And I'll just kind of land on this, that when you go into a new place, a new company, a new work, or you're praying about who I'm going to talk to, and you open your mouth up to share for people, hey, can I pray for you? Like if you had said that and this woman was available, like, oh my gosh, would you pray for me now? Oh, are you a Christian? No, but that's a person of peace. And what we don't realize is you may be reaching into a group because, as we all know, you reach one person in a group, they turn around, they want to share with their friends when they come to Christ. And sometimes you'll reach 5, 6, 7 people after reaching one person. And because we've gotten scared, because we've gotten into this fear, because we get lazy and apathetic in our faith, we're not seeing these kind of movements because we don't realize God's already working in a person of peace. Yeah, so just a final encouragement of like, we can even be bumbling, dumb spies.
Remember mediocre ideas?
Mediocre ideas. And God can literally open the door if you're willing to just try. But it's just a cool encouragement for the end there. So
It wasn't cool that you looked at me when you said bumbling and dumb, but yeah.
I'm not going to look at her.
That's true. That's true.
She's not bumbling.
You're a wise man, Greg. All right.
Well, anyway, we're glad you guys joined us. We hope that this was a helpful conversation on fear, on courage, on all of these different subjects. We pray that you are not a loafer. You get involved, and we would love for you to be involved at Olive Branch, and we know that God's gifted you if you're listening and you're part of the kingdom. So thank you. We pray that God would bless you. If this has been helpful for you, you know somebody who need it, share it, let them know. If you have questions about what we've talked about, maybe how it pertains to a subject in your life, or even a life issue that you would like some advice on or some thoughts in, we would love to hear from you. Send it our direction, our email, rabbittrail@obcc.church, rabbittrail@obcc.church. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. God bless you. Have a great rest of your week. See you next time.
Check it out.